Okay, my outstanding friends, Roger once again. And as you know, I am a material scientist. I don't make claims of things that I cannot support. I just don't do it. If I have no material evidence, I have no material evidence. So how can I support something that I can't point to something that substantiates at least partially what I am pointing to? And some things are so spectacular and so extraordinary that if they are true, they don't necessarily prove everything, but they certainly point a good finger at it, like giant human beings talked about in the ancient texts, in the Bible, and all the other ones. Dragons, also, I have found. And these things are not disputable. They are here. Now, I have also found evidence of things that are in space that are biological, and they talked about battles in the heavens. I know this all sounds bizarrely spectacular, but it is factual. If you've watched my videos, and many of you have been following me for many years, I have been suppressed because I have brought forth evidence that supports at least the accounts in the Bible about giants and so forth. Absolutely no question whatsoever about that. And I have the evidence, I have the specimens, I have the CAT scans, I have the DNA reports, I have everything. Anybody can come up against me, but no one will because they know better. They can't contest it. So now we come to Jesus Christ. Who was he? Was he what he said he was? I'm doing a lot of research on this now because, like I say, I'm a material scientist. I go back when I first discovered the mud fossils and the giants and all that, and then I started to realize I had no religious inclinations, basically, to be perfectly honest with you. I was hoping there'd be something, but who knows? Yeah, it's just one of those things. Well, as soon as I started to find these things, and then I actually got messages, and I'm not kidding you. And you're going to say, oh, this guy's crazy. Well, let me tell you what the messages I got. When I first found the giants, I woke up in the morning, I said to my wife, there's something in the woods calling my name. It wasn't long before I scoured around and I found giant human beings. I came back, I put in my computer giants, and I started searching on them, and before long a message came up that said these things are for you to see and for others as a test. That went away, never came back again. I have no idea how that got there. As I found out, no one wanted to take the test. No one passed the test. Virtually nobody. Nobody wanted to be interested whatsoever. And it was totally rejected. So I went and got CAT scans, I went and got DNA tests, I went and got anatomists and chemistry and all that done, and it was still not allowed at that point because it wasn't unfactual at that point. It wasn't unscientific. It wasn't conjecture. It wasn't just romanticizing some Christian faith. And that's exactly what I was told. I was a creationist. I must think the earth is flat, and how could I believe in a fluffy creature, some guy in the sky, and what is the matter with me? And it was a trial. I can tell you that right now. So it tried me enough that I just didn't dump it on somebody. I said, this is not right. Something's wrong with these people. And I did. I went and I investigated this so deeply that it converted me completely. I mean, totally. Okay, like I said, I was on the fence. I couldn't, had no reason to believe one way or the other. Well, how could I? But now, after I have the revelation of all of these different things, I started going back and looking. Most people don't know about the Nag Hammadi texts, or the ones that do don't realize the significance. This was found right after World War II, as was the Dead Sea Scrolls. Total different interpretation of religion than what was dictated to people to learn to be religious. And that's what the academics do today. They say, if you say what I tell you to say, then you're smart and you can go get a job. And the same thing with the religious people. If you say what I tell you to say, then you're a religious person. If not, you're going to go to hell. So what do you want to do? So now, The Nag Hammadi texts, these are supposed to be the words of Jesus that he spoke to doubting Thomas, and this was written by doubting Thomas. Didymus Judas Thomas recorded these sayings that the living Jesus spoke to Thomas. The first thing it says is, he said, whoever discovers the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death. So you have to start to investigate, obviously. Then he said something that was profound. When I saw that, I said, I'm looking into this. Jesus said, those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. In other words, don't let somebody tell you to shut up and sit down. When they find, they will be disturbed, and really upset and disturbed. Yes, absolutely, because you found something that was taken from you. When they are disturbed, they will marvel. You can't help but marvel at the things that are now being unveiled. And then they will reign over all, and after they have reigned, they will rest. What that means, I don't know. But I'm searching, I'm finding, I'm getting disturbed, I'm marveling, I'm all those things. And then there's stuff in here about the body, about earth being a body and a corpse. There's your mud fossils. I'm telling you, it's all in here. But it's very, very, very confusing. It's, I just saw one just a second ago. Number 19. See, Jesus wants war. He came here to change things. That's what he came here for. Now, number 19 says, Jesus said, congratulations to the one who came into being before coming into being. If you become my disciples and pay attention to my sayings, these stones will serve you. Now, I think we're all a continuous source of a soul. I really haven't figured. I got to be honest with you. It's very, very confusing, and there's a lot that is just, as far as I'm concerned, almost impossible to understand. But that doesn't mean you don't look at it. You look at it, and sooner or later, a little piece falls here, a piece falls there, and then before long, it starts to make sense. And that's what's happened to me over the course of this investigation. And when I say investigation, I have been investigating the mud fossils, the history, everything about the cosmology, about space, about particles, about light. What is light? Let there be light. Light is literally life. Light is the smallest particle there is. It saturates the universe. It feeds everything. It feeds plants. It does everything. And light, let there be light. As above, so below. All of this stuff really makes sense when you get deep. Now, let's listen to what this guy has to say. Who is Jesus?
I am God. Was he? Was he who he claimed to be? The Son of the living God? Jesus Christ claimed to be the Son of the living God. And you know, at his incarnation, or his birth, that was not his birth, or that wasn't the beginning, that wasn't the origin of Jesus. That was the beginning of his incarnation. Because he has always existed. From everlasting to everlasting, he is God, the Bible says. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. In other words, the Logos, the Word of God, the eternal God, became flesh in the person of Jesus Christ and lived like a man among us. He was not just another great man. He was God in the flesh. And oh, the ethics that he taught. Never a man spake like that man. In the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I tell you that if you even look on a woman to lust after her, you've already committed it. He said, Moses said, thou shalt not murder, but I tell you, if you have hate in your heart against your brother without cause, you're already guilty. He lifted man's ethics to the highest plane and demanded that we live that kind of a life. He himself lived that kind of a life. How do you explain Jesus? Jesus Christ, are you what you say you are? You know, they only brought 3 charges against him to crucify him. One, they said, this man loves sinners. That was one charge. The second, he healed on the Sabbath day. And the third, he claimed to be the Son of God. Was he the Son of God? Look at his authority. Jesus came unto them and spake unto them, saying, all authority has been given to me. I know one thing. He forgave sin, and no prophet ever did that. And then look at the death he died. Did ever a man die like Jesus? The lightning flashed and the thunder roared and the earth began to shake. And even the soldiers confessed that this must be the Son of God. Anyone that can see Jesus on that cross and not be touched has a heart of stone. They first took off his clothes. Then they took long leather thongs with steel pellets or lead pellets on the end and beat him across the back until he could hardly stand up. Then they put a crown of thorns on his brow and his face was bleeding. And they laughed at him and they spit on him and they mocked him. And with one snap of his finger, 72,000 angels had already drawn their swords ready to come to his rescue and wipe this planet out of existence in the universe. And Jesus said, no, to this end was I born. And he dragged and lifted and hauled that cross. The man that helped Jesus carry that cross was a black man. And don't ever forget another thing. Jesus belongs to Africa as much as he does to Europe and Asia. He was born in that part of the world that touches Africa and Asia and Europe. And Jesus was not a white man like me, nor was he as black as some of you. We don't know what the color of his skin, but it must have been a dark color like the people of his day, because he was a man like them. Don't ever say it's a white man's religion or a black man's religion. It's a world religion. He belongs to the world. When he died on that cross, they nailed him, they put the nails in his hands. And you know what he said? Forgive them, they know not what they do. Forgive them. Could you forgive somebody that's putting nails in your hands and you know you didn't deserve it? That's how he confronted the violence of his day. And then, on the cross, he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And then he dropped his head and said, it's finished. What did he mean? He meant your plan of salvation is finished. God can now forgive you of all your sins because Jesus had finished God's plan for your salvation. Because you see, God knows every one of you by name. He has the hairs of your head numbered. God looks upon you as though you were the only person in the whole universe. He sees you and you alone. And on that cross, Jesus had the capacity to think of you. And he loved you enough to stay on the cross. Was there ever such love as that? When he could have been rescued and taken back to heaven and to sit on his throne, but he didn't. He said, no, I'm doing it for the joy that is set before me. Because he saw that he would be raised from the dead. He saw that they would be a gathering in the generations to come of a people for his name that would make up his body. He saw the day when we will reign with him in his kingdom.
That's pretty powerful. Okay, so it says that Jesus could have just snapped his fingers and basically erased everybody in front of him that was trying to kill him. And he could have done that, and I don't know what the outcome of that would be, whether everybody would fall down on their knees and say, wow, this guy's for real, we better be good, because we fear him so much. I don't think that's what Jesus wanted. What did he want? He wanted us to realize that through deep, deep love, we could all get along. Okay, that was Grace Digital Daily, and Who is Jesus? Dash, very powerful video, and it was powerful. And from all the research I've done, I have to believe that that he is who he says he was, and that the salvation lies in searching for Jesus and doing the things he said. You know, I don't think anybody's free of sin, well, I know nobody's free of sin. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that can stand up and say, I never sinned, or I never did anything wrong. But once you realize, you know, you grow up and then you realize that there's a lot more to life than just you. Okay, my friends, now, you know, I'm very, very critical of academics. I'm probably the most critical person there is of academics because I have dealt with them my entire life. And the last 10 years has just been absolutely unbelievable how close-minded academics are and how close-ranked they are. It's like a criminal organization at this point. All they are is feeding off of the youth and the weak-minded, really, because the weak-minded are the ones that want to have their minds filled up by somebody that they consider to be expert. Well, the academics are not experts. They're totally irrelevant, not of practical relevance. They're only theoretically interested in things, just so they can concoct crazy stories, so that they can, you know, evolution and things like that. It's totally insane. The history that we've been taught is just ridiculous. Physics is completely wrong. I mean, there's nothing theoretically that's taught that is correct. And I can prove everything I say because I am a material scientist. I take bits and pieces. I take rocks and I say, that's not a rock, that's a goose. That's a goose's head, and there's his feathers. And this is, I know how he turned into solid rock like this. It's called nucleophilic substitution. I do all of the research, but I am not a theoretical person. I am a material scientist. That's the difference. I come up with answers. I don't come up with nonsense. Okay, now I just was speaking with my friend Tyson Carlson. This is Tyson's Mud Fossil Adventures. Now, he claims that this is the most important video he's ever done in his life, and this is going to illuminate a lot of the mystery that people, you know, they hear all these different names, and he's got it's a pretty long introduction, a statement here, and you come up here and read it, and then go into the video. It's 20 minutes long, and I'm telling you, if Tyson knows as much as anyone that I know about the biblical history. Now, he was pretty emotional today, and he said this is, you know, people are lost, and they are completely lost now. I agree with that 100%. And maybe this will make sense to you, maybe it won't. I'm not saying to take anybody's advice. I'm just saying that people are absolutely, no question about it, they're lost. Now, what is found, I don't know. I think I found stuff that is meaningful to me, and Tyson's found stuff that's meaningful to him, and some of our stuff are meaningful together. And you'll have to find the meaning that's meaningful to you. But I'm going to tell you what, if you don't look, you are in so much trouble you can't even imagine. Because God does not favor the ones that are disinterested.